there, Scorpio, and welcome to your April 2020 Creativity Tarot reading. My name is Kayleigh Jean, and welcome to my channel. I record these readings for artists, entrepreneurs, and anyone who is working on their creative self-expression, their personal growth, or their spirituality in any form. So if those areas of life are important to you, I encourage you to go ahead and keep watching. I also want to say you can use this reading for your sun, moon, or your rising sign. You can listen to all three of them if you have three, and you can also feel free to come back and check in with this video again at the end of the month, because a lot of times what I hear is that the video may not, or the reading may not make sense in the beginning of the month, but by the time you get to the end of the month, there could be some really interesting connections. So let's get into it. So Scorpio, while I was tuning in for you, I had some really interesting messages, and they were very much evoking certain emotional states within me while I was tuning in. The first thing that I felt was it was kind of this image combined with the sensation of a hawk. And sort of, if you've ever seen a hawk, they could be flying and sort of using their wings, and then all of a sudden they stop using their wings, and it's like you can kind of see that they're catching some kind of a current. They're catching something where, they're just in the air, but all of a sudden it's like their entire body goes more rigid, and they're just on something that appears to be, feeling very solid to them, but it's just air. So it's like this really interesting experience of kind of catching a current, or catching almost this invisible wave in a way, and feeling very held by it, or feeling very lifted up. And there's a silence or a presence of mind that came through with this vision, where I could just feel what that must be like for this creature. Just all of a sudden it's like they just catch this thing, and it's holding them up, and they can see everything below them. They can see everything from a little bit far away, in a sense. And there's something about your energy in April that really feels to me like you're going to have an opportunity for more silence and more clarity, Scorpio. And at the same time, you are going to be sort of lifted up by something, lifted up onto kind of like a new level, or you're catching like a different current. This could be in regards to your creativity or your work, your professional career. If you are, an artist, there could be something about this vision that came through having to do with inspiration, or an idea that comes to you that is sort of conveying you to your next point of manifestation. But I feel like there's this really strong sense of presence and clarity of purpose that's coming forward. And I also feel this message where, I don't know if you've ever seen a hawk be they're such a powerful bird, right? But sometimes a smaller bird will come up and kind of start chittering at it, or dive bombing it a little bit. And there's something about this, I guess, symbolism that's coming through for you, Scorpio, where I feel like you're going to have an opportunity to soar this month when it comes to your creativity, and maybe something that you're working on. Maybe you're working on something from home. You have an opportunity to soar, but that doesn't mean that there won't be, I guess I want to say, less meaningful positions being taken in the situation. You might be able to sense that someone is being catty, or is being kind of competitive with you, or who's approaching you from a position that is weakened in some way by their superficiality, or by the stance in particular that they're taking is just not a winning stance in your opinion. And I feel this energy of the hawk kind of back off a little bit, but then at the same time, just focusing on your stream, on your airstream, your current that you're on. You are flying higher than that, I guess, is the message, that even if there is anybody kind of dive bombing you, or anybody who's kind of being ruthless or trying to be competitive or being petty or being superficial in some way. That's really like the thing that tends to get under most like Scorpio's nerves, ironically, is like, it's not even necessarily like that someone is being rude to you, because I feel like you can just kind of brush a lot of stuff off. Like, it's really hard to get a rise out of you unless someone's really close to you. But one thing that does actually get under your skin is feeling like you're looking around at a situation that you feel is very sacred, or a subject that you feel is very sacred, and you see people kind of treading all over it, or you see people treating it like it's profane, or treating it like they don't value the sacredness of it. So there could be a little bit of that going on, because this imagery of like the little bird chasing the hawk is kind of coming through. But I want to reiterate that like your sense of purpose, that's what you need to trust and put stock in, okay, Scorpio? You are on the right track, and I really do feel that this is a time period in which you are becoming more clear than ever about your purpose, and it's up to you to stay aligned with that. Nothing really can take you off of that track. Scorpio. Okay. So we're going to lay out your cards, and then I'm also going to get you your Animal Spirit Oracle cards, and we're also going to get a Bob Ross message, because I just feel like, how can we not? That deck is so full of love and beauty. It's just such a beautiful experience anytime I get to read with that deck. Scorpio. Okay, let's take a look at your Bob Ross. Messages from fellow Scorpio, Bob Ross. All right. So let's take a look here. So we've got camel, crossed by the bee. Interesting. So this is a draw that does, for me, speak thematically to the idea of working from home, because the camel is kind of that energy of like having everything that you need within yourself, and it's also kind of a comforting card in a lot of ways. So you could be like working from a space that you feel comfortable in. Many of us are working from home. I know I already work from home, but I know many people are, making that switch at the moment. So there is definitely a theme of that with the camel as your path. There's also, if you read the guidebook for the Animal Spirit Oracle deck, there's it's funny that I like mentioned all that stuff about the meditation, about the little bird kind of chasing or dive bombing the hawk, which is kind of like in its own zen kind of zone, and then this like other little birds coming in like being annoying, but you're just kind of able to turn away from it, or able to kind of stay in your like place of sovereignty. Because the camel card in this deck actually talks a lot about being able to stay cool and being able to stay calm no matter what kind of heat may be coming at you in the environment. And so I don't want you to hear that and think like, oh, maybe there's going to be people criticizing me or whatever. It's possible, but it could also be that like things that you're seeing in people are annoying to you, as far as like maybe their reactiveness to a particular situation. You may be experiencing a little bit of like temporary and like knee-jerk reaction of kind of annoyance with the way that other people are handling things, and it may not even necessarily have to do with you. It could be things that you're seeing out in the world, for example. But with the camel as your path, this is really about you recognizing that whatever like those instant knee-jerk feelings are, like you don't have to engage in those, and that there's actually going to be a very cool, calm, collected energy that you're going to be holding. I see you being sort of really like imperturbable this month. Like I see you being able to rise above. Like I think you're just rising above things that could potentially derail you or could throw you off base. And there's a sense of really deep satisfaction with this idea of, wow, you know, maybe like that person being rude to me in that way, or that person, you know, copying my work, or that person, you know, being competitive with me, or saying that snide remark or whatever, maybe that would have really bothered you in the past, but now you're kind of recognizing that you're just like, you know what, I'm good, like I'm totally good on that. I don't need to engage my emotional state with this outside, you know, this outside person and like how they interact with me. So you're just kind of rising above pettiness. I really feel that's like a really big message for Scorpio this month in April. And the energy that's influencing you is actually going to benefit a lot from that kind of not being offended attitude, because the B card is what's influencing you. So you're too busy working on your own stuff, Scorpio. You're too busy being a freaking rock star. You're too busy being just the best creator that you can possibly be. And I keep saying B, and now like every time I say it, I'm thinking like it's the B card, but it's kind of silly. But I feel like, yeah, you're going to be very productive at home. You have your own point of attraction here. And I see you actually being able to make a lot of progress. So whether this is, you know, building a website at home, writing a book, working on a portfolio of projects, getting something ready to release or publish, or maybe even working on a resume or applying for something, there's some kind of sense of you really being able to accomplish whatever you set out to do in April. So you're going to be very busy, but at the same time, you're very kind of cool as a cucumber. You're like relaxed. You're just taking it one step at a time. You're not in a rush, but you're getting a lot done. And I think that's a very empowering place for a Scorpio to be. So let's take a look at your tarot cards and we'll get some more information. Wow, so we've got Knight of Wands, Ace of Wands, Three of Swords, and the Page of Cups. Temperance, King of Wands, Nine of Swords, and the Three of Pentacles at the end of the month. So each of these groupings kind of gives us a loose narrative of the month. And I feel that in the beginning of April, you're kind of launching yourself into something that you feel passionate about. And, you know, because of global current events, like many of us are going to be doing things like that from home. So it seems like with the Knight of Wands here, it's not really necessarily referring as much to like physically going new places, but it's more about going new places within your mind, right? It's this idea of expanding your mental horizon. Also, I see you kind of enthusiastically jumping in with both feet and being very committed to what you're doing in the beginning of April. And with the Ace of Wands, I see that there is kind of a jolt of excitement and electricity and creative fire brewing within you. So these are kind of the focal point energies of the month for you. It is very much a time of feeling excited, feeling in spite of everything that's going on that makes our, you know, collective global situation so complex right now, in spite of all of that, you really do have your fire. You really do have your ideas and your own sense of the life that you're creating for yourself. And I think it's really important that you allow yourself to go to those new horizons within your own life and within your own mind as well. You could be learning or studying or embarking on a project or a launch of some kind. And I think that this is really like, this is right for you, Scorpio. This is what you're meant to be doing. There's a level of mastery that you're accomplishing by the third week of April, which is really great. By the second week of April, you know, we should talk about this because we've got the Three of Swords and the Page of Cups. So one of the things that I wanted to say immediately when I turned these over was like inner child work. So I don't know if any of you are, you know, people who like to work on yourself in kind of a creative way, but doing things like journaling or Carl Jung's practice of active imagination. This is something that I personally use for myself often whenever I feel like I need to explore through my imagination things that I want to work on in my life or things that are presenting a complication or a challenge for me. So you can look up active imagination. There's plenty of information about it online. That could be a really good use of your time and a really great self-care practice to engage in during the second week of April, because it looks to me like there is some kind of healing that can take place through working with your imagination, which is the Page of Cups. The Page of Cups can also be your inner child as well. The other thing that I would say here is that you could, if you're a Scorpio that has like adult children, you might have something, you might be dealing with some feelings of like disappointment around something, like maybe, you know, because of the like social distancing aspects of life, maybe you're not able to meet up with this person for their birthday, or, you know, maybe there's something in your life that you were planning on doing that was going to bring you some joy with the Page of Cups, and with the Three of Swords, it's like the trip is canceled or the party's canceled or something along those lines in the second week of April. So, but chin up, you know, because the energy does improve. And I do feel that this is like a really temporary thing. So whether you are a Scorpio who is, you know, just working on some aspect of healing yourself, this is a great time to do that. If that's really like the focus, I think that this could be, you know, working with active imagination, or working with even meeting with a therapist or counselor over Zoom or Skype or something like that. You could really make a lot of progress on some kind of like emotional wound from the past. And for those of you who are dealing with some kind of disappointment when it comes to like a hoped for trip or a hoped for party or a hoped for kind of opportunity, I don't see this as being something that is, you know, that you need to be afraid of, or, you know, it's something that we're all kind of encountering. It's a little bit of a bummer energy, but it's not like the worst thing ever. So I don't want you to feel too bad about this. And there could be some kind of a disappointment or a loss of something as well. But, you know, I do feel like many of the aspects of the symbolism for that second week of April for you as a Scorpio, that full moon in Libra is symbolically placed in your 12th house. And the 12th house is kind of the house of, it's been called the house of self-undoing. It's also the house of like our deeper unconscious mind and our unconscious self. So seeing that you have this full moon there, a lot of times that does bring the energy more towards like aspects of your inner life or your soul self that are wounded or that need healing. So that's really why I'm leaning more towards like that being the experience and kind of like what that energy is all about. You might even be kind of triggered by something, you know, that comes up. Maybe it's a fear that you realize you have to face around that second week or around the full moon in Libra. You could be like, okay, you know what? This fear is coming up for me right now. I'm just going to deal with it. I'm going to just sit down. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to meditate, and I'm going to write in my journal about it, or, you know, whatever. Sometimes as well, like fears or our pain or our idiosyncrasies that cause us, you know, emotional pain can ironically end up being like the most fertile ground for us to create from. So because the Page of Cups can represent the beginning or the onset of like a new creative journey, it could be that you're using like a painful experience from your past and really like channeling all of the different parts of you and all of the different things that you felt as you went through that experience. You could be channeling that into like an amazing story, for example, or you could be drawing a lot of inspiration for characters or for a project of any kind that is creative. Maybe it's music or whatever, but you're drawing on that fear or that pain and you're creating something more like artistic out of it with the Page of Cups. So that can also be a factor, but just know, you know, could be some tender emotions rising up in that second week. Temperance and the King of Wands in the third week of April. To me, when I look at these cards together, this is basically summed up by the word mastery. Because the Temperance card represents an alchemy. It's a mixing of opposites, and it's a process, okay? It's like a process of alchemical, psychological growth, essentially. And what we have with the King of Wands is the masterful utilization of your full creative talents at this time. So by the third week of April, I think it's really possible that you are synthesizing some aspect of your growth as a creator or as an artist or as an individual in any way. And you're really using that to maybe create something entrepreneurial with the King of Wands, or you're drawing on like integration that you've done on yourself from your past, and you're like seizing opportunities because you know that you've moved on from the point where you're kind of needing to question yourself all the time, like, have I done enough work in order to do this? Or am I an imposter? Or am I, jumping the gun? Am I trying to do things that I'm not actually prepared to do? You're not going to necessarily have those questions, I don't think, in the third week of April. You're going to be more trusting that you have actually done your homework in terms of your personal growth, and also in terms of whatever thing it is that you're trying to do here. I think that you have actually accomplished quite a lot of synthesis within yourself, and I think that you're going to see with that King of Wands, you're going to see that you're at that kind of crucial point where you can seize an opportunity, or you can make a launch, or you can level up in some way in your career, or in your creativity in some way. And I think that this is going to be a very empowering week for you in April. So definitely like seizing opportunities. Now, it's interesting because at the end of the month, we have the Nine of Swords and the Three of Pentacles. So there could be some concerns in the last week of April regarding either what other people are going to think of your work, or you could be concerned about a brick and mortar business. You could be concerned about things that are practical in nature, or you could be concerned about a group of people in some way. And as I look at this, I really feel like you're maybe afraid of what, I feel like it's more like you're afraid of what a community will think of you, or like if you start stepping into like a different industry, it's almost like you're kind of concerned with like what your colleagues would think, because here we have this person, he's a crafts person, and he's he's creating this edifice right here, and these other two people who seem to me, they look a little older than him, so they're like watching what he's doing, so he may feel like he's kind of being judged. And here we have the person, it looks like this person, but they're in bed and they're sort of leaning over this blanket, and they're wondering, oh my gosh, like, how did I do? Maybe you have a test, Scorpio. Maybe at the end of the month, if you're doing any kind of like education program or online training, or if you are involved in some kind of vocational like course in some way, you might be afraid of the outcome of a test, or the result of some kind of thing that you're doing, maybe even remotely, because here you are at home, but then here it's like the symbolic representation of this. So what I want to say, if that's your situation, Scorpio, is that I really feel like you have done the work. Like if we didn't see Temperance and the King of Wands preceding this, like I feel that these cards are really saying sometimes when you are the one who is moving into a new experience, or taking yourself to the next level, or taking your creativity and your self-expression in a new direction, like the message, Scorpio, is nobody else can do that for you. Nobody can really give you permission to do that. And every person that you've ever seen who has taken, their voice and used it in a different way, or entered into, the sphere of a conversation, every one of them has had to ultimately give themselves permission to do that. So every professional you see, every highly skilled person you see, every very respected member of a community, they're all there And maybe, yes, they have degrees, or maybe they have certifications, or maybe they have a ton of testimonials, or maybe they have, colleagues who rave about their work and their contributions. Maybe they've been published in magazines or on websites and articles. But still, like, disregarding all of that, they had to give themselves permission to kind of step into the conversation. So it's your turn to do that for yourself, Scorpio. It's your turn to say, you know what, I belong here, and here's why. And you don't have to justify yourself, but you will want to show the integration in the work that you've done. It makes you more credible. So let's take a look at your Bob Ross message. Okay, so we've got, anything that you try and you don't succeed, if you learn from it, it's not a failure. Anything you try and you don't succeed, if you learn from it, it's not a failure. This, I think, speaks more to the fear of failure and the fear of, like, well, if I put myself out there, maybe, it won't get the response that I want, or maybe I'll lose the respect of people who currently I, really value their opinion if I share this controversial idea, or if I share more about what I do. But this is saying, like, any attempt to avoid failure that stops you from taking actions or stops you from doing something that you feel inspired to do, that's always going to be a hindrance on your growth. Like, growth itself is the process of experiencing, like, so-called successes and so-called failures, and making modifications based on, like, everything that you see that comes as a result. So it's not really about avoiding a failure and making sure that you always succeed. It's more about recognizing that if you're pointing yourself in a direction that is worthy to you, like if your soul is on fire when you think about doing a particular thing or speaking on a particular topic or engaging in a particular, like, path, if that's what lights your soul on fire, Scorpio, then, like, that's what you have to do. And any experiences that you have along the way are like the stem and the leaves and the plant, like, growing and opening up. That's that process. But you can't have that process, like, prescribed for you and written out so that it all goes perfectly smoothly. That doesn't exist for you, and it doesn't exist for anyone. So allow yourself to embark on that journey and embrace all of the experiences, because they all have something to teach you. And as long as that's the attitude that you're taking, you know for fucking certain that you are moving your ass in the direction you want to go. It doesn't matter if you don't get something perfectly right, or you don't get the response that you want, or you don't get the feedback that you're hoping for, because if you keep moving in that direction, learning from each new experience, that is growth in the direction that you want to go in, Scorpio. So that's what it is. That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like for all of us. And that's really the message that I get for you. So I hope this has been helpful in inspiring you to take those creative actions that we see in these cards. And if you're still with me and you got something useful from this reading, definitely let me know in the comments. You can send me a little fire emoji next to a red heart if you have the emojis on your keyboard. Otherwise, you can just say I'm still here, or just let me know your thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear from you guys always. I really enjoy reading for my Scorpios, and I'm sending you so much love. Be safe, be vibrant, take care of yourself, take care of your health in April. Everybody just be safe and do what you got to do to make this time a joyful time as much as possible, and to really take care of yourselves, okay? You can join the April Fool's Journey, which is a tarot challenge. It's free. I'll put the link below. And I just hope you have an amazing month. Thank you so much for being here, and I will talk to you next time. Bye, Scorpio.